You've been absolutely conned and scammed by the fitness industry the last few years. The fitness industry, people like Dr. Mike, well, Mr. Mike, he has a fake PhD, um, Jeff Nippard, and many others have preached the importance of getting a super deep stretch. These people have preached the importance of high rep sets, super high volume, chasing a pump, right? Fancy techniques. All of it's complete garbage. I'm going to piss some people off here, but I don't care. Real progress in the gym comes from training for strength, and I'm going to break down the physiology behind it in this video. All right. So the first thing that we need to talk about is what actually builds muscle. All right. Why do we go to the gym? Why do we lift weights? What is that doing? First things first. Any rep range can grow muscle. 5 reps, 10 reps, 15 reps, anything up to around 20 reps is shown to build muscle. All right, it all works. My personal bread and butter, my personal rep range that I like to use for me is 5 to 8 reps. Yes, as a bodybuilder, training for size. For my clients, I go to the 5 to 12 rep range because I have a lot of beginner clients, and for beginners, I like to go with a little bit of a higher rep range. As they get more and more advanced, if they feel more and more comfortable, we can get into heavier loads and lower rep ranges. But anyways, for me, that's the perfect balance of mechanical tension, load, strength progression, and obviously it's not so heavy that you're just intimidated by the weight. This isn't an opinion, guys. This isn't just what I think. This is not kind of like a conclusion that I drew based on an opinion. This is physiology, right? People research this. People study this. I went to school essentially for this. I'm not a physiologist, but I took exercise physiology courses, and it's just crazy to me how we stray so far away from basic physiology. The primary driver of hypertrophy or muscle growth is mechanical tension plus high threshold motor unit recruitment. What does this mean? Mechanical tension is when the two proteins inside the muscles slide against each other. Essentially, all that means is when you lift weight, there's always tension. But that needs to be combined with high degrees of motor unit recruitment. Now, what does this mean? This means that when the reps slow down because the weight is so hard, right? So let's say you're doing a bench press, right? Let's say you do 10 reps. 1, 2, it's still going quick. 3, 4, 5. Now the reps are starting to slow down. 6, because it's getting really hard. 7, you're still pushing as hard as you can, but they're coming up slower. 8, because you're giving all your effort. 9, and last rep before failure. Oh, it's a grind. It's a grind. That's mechanical tension. All right. That's how you build muscle. That's it. It's just when the rep is hard. It's just when you're giving your effort. It's just when you're training with intensity. It's not getting a pump. It's not deep stretch, right? None of that shit matters. None of those crazy intensifiers matter. Drop sets, supersets, sure, go for it. But those things aren't going to give you more muscle growth just because they hurt more. The truth about the stretch position. Stretch bias training, let's be honest here. It's fundamentally idiotic, okay? If you emphasize the stretch more than the concentric. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but if you emphasize it more, it doesn't make any sense. All right? In the stretch position of any movement, right? In the stretch position back here, half of our muscle fibers switch off because we're stronger in this stretch position. We can handle more load and more weight in the stretch position. So what does that mean? You might think, oh, okay, if we're stronger there, then we should train there. Let me stop you right there. What that means is half of the muscle fibers switch off because we're able to handle more of that load. All right? So you're not actually getting the most gains possible in the stretch position. You're getting about half as much motor unit recruitment in stretch position as you are in the concentric phase. So since we're weaker in the concentric phase, meaning the lifting portion, let's say in a chest press, the part where you lift it up, we're not as strong in this phase. So what does our brain do? Our brain gives more central motor command to more motor units in the muscle, and that activates more muscle fibers so that we can grow more of the muscle. Okay? It's very, very simple. If you're sitting in a position that feels painful, feels hardcore, feels intense, feels like you're tearing every muscle fiber in your body, but you're not actually stimulating more growth. You're just creating more muscle damage, which means longer recovery, which means less frequency, which means less total hypertrophy over time. You're going to reach your goal not as quick as you want to because you're wasting time recovering from bullshit intensifiers. So that pain you're chasing, it's not extra stimulus for muscle growth. It's extra rest and recovery and potential injury in the long run. The concentric is where you recruit the most muscle. All right, that close to failure, slow rep speed is where mechanical tension peaks, and that's exactly what grows muscle. Not your deep stretch and not your drop sets and not your intensifiers. Same thing with fatigue. People think fatigue equals growth. No, fatigue is a side effect, not what we're trying to chase. If your training style forces you to stop your set early or stop your workout early, rest 5 or 10 minutes because it was so intense, or train that muscle less frequently throughout the week because you've annihilated your muscle so much, congratulations. You're literally blunting your ability to grow muscle in a long period of time, right? Think of it this way. Why hit a muscle once a week when you can hit a muscle twice a week? Don't you think that hitting your chest twice a week is going to yield more results than hitting it once a week? And I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, if you hit it once a week, but you train it way more intensely, then you're going to yield more muscle growth. No. You're just getting more and more muscle damage. You're getting more and more fatigue, and you're accruing more and more fatigue in the long run too. Fatigue stacks up. It compounds. All right? So this can not only affect your next chest session, but it can affect every other muscle group too. And this is how injuries happen. Right? So let's train our muscles more frequently, still with intensity. We're still going to failure and training hard, but maybe just skip the 40 sets of deep stretches. All right? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't if you really take a look at it. All right. The whole point is to maximize stimulus while minimizing unnecessary fatigue. Heavier loads, controlled reps, rep speeds naturally slowing down as you approach failure. That's it. That's all it takes to grow muscle. So if you do those 3 things right, you're going to build as much muscle as you possibly can with your circumstance. Not artificial fatigue from circus techniques. Here's the part that people struggle with. Strength drives hypertrophy. All right? There's no difference. There's not really a difference between strength and hypertrophy. They're very closely correlated. There is a difference, of course, but I'm saying they're very closely correlated. There's coordination adaptations early on. Yes. So if you've ever noticed you switch to a different machine or you switch to a different exercise and you're able to go up in weight really quickly on that exercise for the first few weeks, let's say. You're not growing exponential amounts of muscle just because you switch exercises. That's just your brain learning how to coordinate the movement, right? So coordination is a strength adaptation as well. But once you've mastered that exercise or that machine, the strength gains that you make are less and less correlated to your coordination adaptations, but they're more and more correlated to your hypertrophy adaptations, right? So all I'm saying is once you've mastered using a machine, each time you get stronger, that's actually more and more muscle growth, right? Training for strength and training for hypertrophy are not very different, right? You can't really get stronger without building muscle. Have you ever seen a small powerlifter who deadlifts 1,000 pounds? Have you ever seen someone who could curl an 80-pound dumbbell, but they have small biceps? No, you have not. I'll answer it for you. You can't get stronger for years without building muscle. It doesn't work like that. If you want bigger legs, your squat numbers better be going up. If you want a bigger back, your rowing numbers better be going up, or your pull downs, or whatever you do for back. You want bigger arms? Your curls better be getting stronger. Your tricep extensions need to get heavier. Chasing the pump is irrelevant. It's just fluid accumulation in the muscle. It's just an inflammatory response from your body. Chasing load progression over time is everything. All right? I lost over 130 pounds. I was weak, small, soft, and all of the above after losing the weight. I lost lots of muscle. And the only reason I built the physique I have now is because I trained for strength as much as possible. My biceps and shoulders used to be a major weak point of mine. And you could tell they're still not like as developed as I want them to be. But once I started training based on the physiology and what I learned in school, mechanical tension, heavy loads, slow rep speeds near failure, they actually started growing. Like, they don't look too bad anymore. And I'm natural, fully natural. All right, I take creatine. No shortcuts. When you respect the physiology, your body responds. It's not magic. It's training properly. All right? If you want to grow, stop chasing pumps, the burn, right? And these little cute techniques like deep stretch. All right? I mean, it's not going to harm you per se, but it's going to blunt your ability to grow more muscle in the long run by doing these idiotic intensifiers, right? You can't even explain why it works. All right? Stop doing 20, 25, 30 rep sets. Stop doing multiple drop sets, and literally you're switching off your high threshold motor units if you do a drop set. It doesn't make any sense. Just do straight sets and rest properly in between. Like, that's the most logical conclusion. Why did we stray so far away from that? Stop worshiping the stretch position and stop copying influencers who actually don't understand the roots of the physiology. Start emphasizing progressive overload, meaning getting stronger or increasing reps over time, aka getting stronger. Start emphasizing moderate to heavy loads, right? Train heavy, don't train light. Of course, with control and with good technique and good execution, obviously, yes. 5 to 12 rep range, that's solid. It's solid to start. As you get more advanced, you could start breaching into 5 to 10 rep range and 5 to 8 rep range. I personally will live in the 5 to 8 rep range till I die. High degrees of motor unit recruitment. Again, making sure that bar speed slows down as you come up. And start emphasizing, lastly, strength as your main metric for muscle growth. This is how you actually get bigger, especially if you're natural. All right, you got to follow the rules of physiology if you're natural. If you're on roids, fuck it. You could train however you want and you're going to grow, right? Because then you have two different stimuli. You have the training stimulus from the gym, but then the roids make you grow without a training stimulus too. These two combined is why people like Ronnie Coleman and Sebum and all those people exist, right? They have two different training stimulus and crazy genetics, and that's just a recipe for crazy, like, monstrous physiques. All right? I don't have any of that. I just have shit genetics and no roids. So I got to do what I can and actually follow the physiology and get strong so I can get big. All right. That's it. That's all I have for you. This is a pretty hot topic in the fitness industry right now. And it's really simple. It's really simple. Just get stronger in the gym, train with good technique, good form, and stop doing like childish intensifiers. When did we start believing that more burn, more pain equals like more muscle growth? Right? There's a thing called fatigue. There's a thing called central fatigue. There's a thing called supraspinal central nervous system fatigue. There's a thing called spinal central. There's so many different fatigue mechanisms that I could talk to you about. And it's like, we're just activating all of them for no reason. All right, my camera's about to die. Thanks for watching. Any questions, let me know. That's it. Get stronger. That's it.